It's live stream.
Make sure. There you have it. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, brother, doing fine. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Hump day, Wednesday. There we go, and they're off. I am hoping we have a lot of people on tonight to get the message from Dr. Scott Miscovich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just hope. I know I have asked a lot of people to share it. I know there's a lot of information been bouncing all over the place. Whether it's from the White House, the square building on Oahu. It's just a lot of information going back and forth. A lot of information. I think a lot of people, it's just a lot of things. I'm hoping Dr. Miscovich can enlighten us tonight with some factual data.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize Dr. Miscovich as an expert, not just in testing, but in COVID in general. He has been around the world assisting professional organizations like the NCAA, the Olympic Committee, as well as being the founder and owner of Premier Medical Group. I would say he's an expert, Charlie. What about you?
Definitely. I'm hoping and praying tonight's show will have a different feel. We try to bring the best info as possible, and I know some out there may feel that it's repetitive. You got this guy on, he was on before, blah 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 blah, and right now everybody's just stretched thin in this community of understanding COVID. And the reason why I'm hoping and praying that one, we have a good turnout, two, people listen, is that there seems to be no stopping of this variant. I mean, it's got to run its course. On the news tonight, they predict 200,000. It will be up to 200,000 a day, with 67% of the total population vaccinated. 67%. And with these numbers running as high as they are now, I believe Louisiana tops the list. I mean, and now we've got children going back to school. This thing is like pedal to the metal, and it's just running over everything in its way. There doesn't seem to be any deterrent in front of it, throwing it off the rails. And yet, they always say, well, make sure that make sure that you do this or you do that. Okay, I get it. But we got to be more than just make sure you do this and do that already. Because what we're doing now is simply not enough. One of the things I know is that, re-implement the testing again. Just re-implement it. We don't have to do it for a long time, but let's see how much it'll cut into travel-related infections coming into our state. Just try it. See what happens. I mean, right now with the amount of people that has been coming to Hawaii, we're so far ahead of the mark. Remember the hotel workers that, it's going to be a while before we can get the numbers up, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? You already surpassed pre-COVID numbers. So don't give me none of that hogwash.
Well, Charlie, the hotel executives were saying that, the Mel and Charlie show was saying something else. And again, I don't say that to brag. I'm just saying that we are not hotel experts. Charlie, you get a lot of experience in the hotel industry. I worked in the hotel industry as a worker, not as an executive, but it was common sense.
Yeah.
Breaking news. George White, our brother from Oahu, just posted, Mayor announced just now to Honolulu City Council that the governor will be announcing restrictions on gathering sizes, 25 outdoor, 10 indoor. Thank you, George. So,
George,
Charlie,
George, Can I
exactly
make
what
a
you were
comment?
just exactly what you were just talking about, Charlie. And that is the kinds of changes we need to see.
Just try it. I'm not asking for a lifetime of change. Just try it so we can take this virus here in Hawaii and throw it off the rails. Make it difficult to spread. Right now, by not testing, we are not making it difficult for this virus to spread. In fact, we're giving it carte blanche. We're saying, hey, como mai, here, infect all these people. Why? We have no border patrol whatsoever in stopping it. I mean, can't you see that? And folks, don't get me wrong. I'm still the same old Uncle Charlie. I'm not upset. When I get upset is when I like slap somebody upside the head. I'm not upset at all. I just want people to be safe. And one of the things is try something to make people safe. Okay? Because I go back to what I said before. Everybody in the industry was saying, our economy is going to take a long time before it bounces back. And guess what? We bounced back in a few months since we opened up. Few months. And now it's to the point we can't control it.
And Charlie, it was the hotel executives that was pleading to the governor, pleading to the Hawaii people. We need to open so we can get our guys back to work. We need to get our people back to work. And what does the hotel industry do? They're ramped up 100%, in some cases booked over capacity, and they're not bringing the workers back. They're doing housekeeping by request only, and the hotel workers are begging, I want to come back to work. We need to come back to work, and they're not. You see, and that's the for me, it's the disingenuous kinds of things that people do, and I think they honestly believe that we as the people of Hawaii going to forget what they said 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Well, we don't forget. The problem, Charlie, is egos. The egos are involved now. The egos from people that had committed and made statements that they knew were not true. But they figured again that we would be stupid. We could sit up here every night and estimate and tell the public, the travel-related cases is 50%, 60%, 70%. And just to make our point or get our point across, move our agenda forward, we could do that. And it would be a disservice when you don't put out the factual information. So later on tonight, when the doctor is on, I'm going to put up our chart from Kauai's cases. And again, I want to say thank you to our mayor, Derek Kawakami, his staff, the staff of the Department of Health here on Kauai, our health director, Kauai Health Director, Dr. Janet Berman. I want to thank them because they have not wavered. They started to do real-time reporting, and they report everything. Unfortunately, we cannot get how many of these cases are vaccinated and not vaccinated. I am working on that, people, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But okay, putting that on the side, we get the actual numbers from Kauai. And it's it's put out to the public in the form of a press release, in the form of a Facebook post. Nothing is hidden here. And I wish the whole state knew that. So I bring this point. Okay, again, now is the time to hit the share button, guys. We got them on all the platforms. If Facebook wants to kick us out, go for it. But I just want to put this up right now. This is the last 14 days on Kauai. 54% travel-related cases. This isn't tourist-related travel, okay? Let's get that straight. This isn't a beef against the tourists. Travel-related. 54% of the COVID cases on Kauai, and I'll put up the chart with all the numbers later once we get the doctor on, Dr. Miscovich. And what's even more alarming is 22% of our cases are keiki, are our children. This is Kauai only now, in the last 14 days. And many will argue that, including our Lieutenant Governor will tell you, 2% of the cases are travel-related or tourists. On Kauai, it's 15% of the cases are visitors, 85% are residents. But again, how many of our visitors are being tested? This is not a dig on them. This is not a dig on them. I'm just saying that to get accurate numbers, you gotta test them all. You got to test them all the same. So if you test 200 residents, returning residents, then you should definitely test 200 visitors. So, and again, we'll put up the chart later and we'll have a nice discussion with Dr. Miscovich, who's in our waiting room right now. But I just want you guys to know it's so easy to come out and spew out bullcrap numbers. This is from data. This is actual real-time data for the island of Kauai. Now, 54% travel related. If that doesn't convince you that our unsafe travels program is not working, then nothing will. Nothing will. So let's bring on Dr. Scott Miscovich, world renowned. He is world renowned. I mean, it's so cool when you watch CNN and you see somebody that you know personally. That's like, wow, Charlie, I know the guy. Like that Kia commercial. I know a guy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Well, I have to tell you the honest God truth. I do the CNN stuff, and then they send me the clip afterwards, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy. So I do the same thing. I don't get tired of it. And I just think every time I'm on, I think, well, oh, that's the last time I'm going to be on. And, why would they want me on? And they call me back and they call me back, and I'm 40 sometimes on it. And they call me and I'm like, okay, I guess someone wants to hear what I have to say. So I don't know.
Well, I think it comes down to what Charlie and I spoke of right before you came on, that your expertise is not just in testing, it's in COVID, it's in handling this this virus and the variant and protocols and so much to the fact that you have done it for the NCAA, SEC, you've done it for the Olympic Committee. I mean, you don't get a blabbermouth wannabe being part of those types of organizations. So I asked Charlie, I mean, wouldn't you consider Dr. Miscovich an expert? And he, without hesitation, said absolutely. So that is why CNN, and I don't know what we're nowhere near CNN, but what the hell? I think we're just as important to our viewers.
I do, man. So, well, guys, let me start out by just telling you, just kind of, chicken skin moment for me today and what I'm doing right now. And I think you guys probably know, or maybe you don't know, I'm talking to you right now. It's 10 o'clock and I'm in Arizona. I'm in Tucson. And I flew over here to see my team and to have some meetings. And I am with the Arizona Department of Health and the Southern Pima County Department of Health. And I just met with teams of doctors and staff. And my group is doing testing for the immigrants and the individuals that are coming across the border that are also, basically political asylum seekers. I mean, this is like a huge issue politically. And I can sit here and look at you guys and tell you firsthand, we are testing them. We are then finding the positives. And then my group is running hotels where we're caring for the COVID positive immigrants or individuals coming across that are are seeking asylum, and they're getting excellent care. And we're making sure they're getting literally the same care and the same testing protocols that I wrote for the Olympics. And that's a big issue right now, because people are basically, trying to say, oh, our borders and this and that. No, we're keeping our borders safe right now. And I'm sitting here looking at preparing for, 100, 200, 300, 500 people a day that we're going to be testing. And they're not going to come across our borders unless they're COVID free. And if they are COVID positive, they'll go to a facility until they pass quarantine. So kind of a neat thing.
And it's a great segue into, because whether you're coming from Vegas or Mexico or wherever you're coming from, this virus doesn't have a brain. It just grows and and duplicates. I really wanted to touch on the subject of testing tonight, and I did
Sure.
want to put up the chart of our numbers that reflect Kauai's numbers in the last 14 days. But we hear all the what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna make kids take tests, or take vaccines or tests every week if they want to play sports. Coaches got all of these things, these peripheral requirements, but we're not addressing the issue which you just talked about of the positive cases that are coming across our border, which is the Pacific Ocean. What are your thoughts on that?
It's you guys. One of the things that has been so incredible working with you guys is that just how spot on you are to just look at, and it comes from your background as law enforcement and other things, but to look broadly across about where this is coming from. And Kauai and the amazing job that Dr. Behrman and your mayor has done is a microcosm of pre and post, right? You guys did a great job, and there wasn't any disease coming in because you were shut down, right? So that's that. And then it happens, and the disease comes in, and you have to start saying where and how. And that's where we go into looking at the ideas of the Vegas people, right? Vegas, we talked about this a month or 6 weeks ago. I think I pointed out right on your show or one of my KITV news, and people were saying, oh, don't pick on Vegas, don't pick on Vegas. And I was like, but you got to look, the positivity rate in the last 2 weeks has just started to skyrocket. And therefore, we know the disease is going to be so much more prevalent, because when you see that positivity rate going up in the testing, remember, that's reflecting you're not doing enough testing. And that's reflecting that what it's going to look like 2 weeks from now to 4 weeks from now is going to be significantly higher. That's what we're dealing with in our state right now. And so, yes, that's what's going on. We have to look at, we are now, this is the proverbial putting our fingers in the dike, but there's sprouts coming everywhere in every direction. But you know what? How do you do it? You take a deep breath and you go and you say, there's a leak, there's a leak, there's a leak, there's a leak. And now let's start patching them, right? And you do them preventing the massive flood. Well, we have a pretty big flood coming in right now. And the whole concept is that we do need to have testing in every different direction. And the testing has to be with our residents returning, right? And follow-up testing, as we now know, is necessary. If someone's coming in and quarantining and they're not going to do testing in advance, well, we got to do something to get all of our residents safe and tested. And then we have the visitors coming in, and we may need to be talking about the ones that are not vaccinated to get some secondary form of testing and not just relying on one form of testing. And now we're talking about breakthrough testing, right? We have people who are vaccinated. We now know that we have breakthrough testing, and there's all types of percentages I could start talking to you about and spewing. And again, let's highlight the fact that please, everyone, get vaccinated, get your friends and family vaccinated, and get their friends and family vaccinated, because guess what? You don't die. The chances that you're going to die in being vaccinated are very, 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 very low. And so that's really the best thing we can still all do, but we still have breakthrough. And you all know the CDC findings that show that in the first couple of days after you're having a breakthrough vaccinated infection, you are spewing and seeding as much infection as a person who isn't vaccinated. You're not going to go on and die, but you can still spread it just as much. So those are all the, that's the water coming out of the dike. Now, that's what we have to start talking about. How do we touch all of them? We don't just touch one of them or two of them or three of them. We have to touch all of them. So, that's my first thought.
I think my thoughts have shifted a little. And that is, first we need to decide, because I saw a question earlier. Somebody wanted to know uh, the cases of serious to less serious. I look at it as long as numbers on the rise, it doesn't matter if it's serious or not. The numbers are on the rise, right?
Mhm.
That's my first thought. My second thought is we really don't know what is spiking. Is it the Delta? We presume that is because that's the hot button topic. Or is it just the standard CoV-2, right? Like what we first had. I wish they would kind of print out and say, based on testing, we're showing the Delta as, even though it's the predominant, you say if this week we have 568 cases, I would rather at this point know, okay, which one and how much is leading the pack. Because that would tell me, okay, we got a real serious problem here, folks. Now we got to tackle the problem. Then I want to hear from our state. How do you propose to tackle it? Because this dike, and I always say this, you're trying to stop the leaking, right? The dam, you got all these pukas, it's just constant leaking. It seems very apparent to me that the state cannot juggle two things at once. Either we stop the dam by first, we got to patch up the dam, I should say, but we got to stop it from coming in. Because every time we plug up the holes and some more leaks are happening, but yet there's more being put into that dam. And so when you got these two things going on, the state doesn't know whether they're coming or going. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's the outer appearance that I see. Am I off basis, or am I somewhere close to the mark there, Doc?
Well, okay, let me answer one of your questions. It's Delta. Let's not guess. We don't have to guess. We don't have to test. We know with the sampling we've done, and we know with the statistics coming across the country,
Okay.
it's Delta. Okay, so we don't have to chase that one down. We know we have something that's extraordinarily contagious because of how rapidly our numbers are spiking in the state, with the fact that we have 60% of our state still vaccinated, right? So when you look at that, you can do quick epidemiology on this, and you guys have had, brilliant people on, and it shows the infectivity. So the answer, what we need to do right now, and it's just going to go back to the basics, Charlie. It's where we started talking a year ago when we were all on, and it's where we started a year ago when I was standing on top of my roofs yelling, "We've got to test." The answer is COVID is the same. It's testing. Like, I do see a big new renewed effort at the Department of Health right now. And we'll talk about DOH and what they're facing, and DOE, we'll talk about all that. But it's testing, and let's re-emphasize that next part of that, and it's called contact tracing, right? It's testing followed by aggressive contact tracing and aggressive quarantine and isolation.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Right.
Because you answered my question, and I'm sorry that I had to kind of dupe you into saying what you said. It's highly contagious. You see that. The majority of the lay people see that. Why doesn't the state see that for what it is? Highly contagious. Because it doesn't seem like anything they've tried, it's almost as if they're playing with something that it's not that contagious. You said it, you're the expert. I believe what you say. And we don't have to go around guessing, because yes, you're right. It's the Delta. Why is it an effort that the state can say, you know what, we're going to go this route? Because at this point we have nothing to lose. I mean, it's like a wildfire, right? Some people can say, we need to reserve the water, just dump some over here to put out the fire. At this point, it's ravaging. Just dump whatever you can and see if we can stop the front of the fire from spreading even more, right? Wouldn't that be an approach you would take?
Yeah, and I think here's what's going on right now. Number one is, I'm going to have a little bit of defense here for Department of Health, and that is the number of people that work in the Department of Health right now is the same, maybe even less. Who knows if they've lost some, as it was like 2 months ago when we were at 10, 12, 20, right? Okay, so we have the same number of people that are now, it was probably just like the Big Island when Friday, or when all of a sudden you have, it's a great analogy. You have this freaking brush fire that's burning through a drought-stricken area, and then all of a sudden 40-mile-an-hour high wind warning comes up, and you go, oh my God. And the firefighters are like, now what do we do? And they have to go out and take care of it. We're dealing with the same thing. We have the same number of people at the Department of Health. We have a Delta variant that came in, whether we could have predicted it or not. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us were saying, here it comes, but it was here. And now we're reacting. I'm seeing some semblance that they're starting to try to react at the Department of Health. So we have to first look at the microcosm of the Department of Health and look at what their capabilities are and the number of people they have. I mean, I know we're getting Queens hiring and saying FEMA's got to send us nurses. I mean, I think we need to have the same urgency to beef up the people that we need to help our Department of Health. And the Department of Health has to put out the SOS, because I do believe we have the same urgency that we did a year ago to get contact tracing in place and make it happen. And I think if I'm sitting here and I'm sitting across and I'm down at the Senate hearings and things like that, I want to turn to them and I want to say, okay, we have a crisis right now. What do you need? What do you need? And I'm thinking, they need a bucket load of people and staff to do the contact tracing. And they need a bucket load of staff to basically turn on and get the firefighters on the front lines, right, Charlie? And that's where we need. And I think what you're saying is, that, Mel knows that, I know that. I'm sure those poor people that are working down there probably 12 hours a day on the front line are going, oh my God, please help. But then we get some people talking to cameras that, are not really saying the same thing, right? I mean, I think that's what you're trying to say is the people of Hawaii we know that. And yes, we have to keep the public calm, right? We have to have balanced public good. But, but I'm telling you, man, it's, then we're going to be able to break it down. We're going to go island by island. You guys have, and I've said this before, and I'm not just saying it because you're coming from there, but your team and Dr. Behrman are doing a really good job. What are they doing? They got pop-ups going everywhere. They got pop-up vaccinations going. They got pop-up testing programs going. They had not done their daily testing program right downtown. And as the variant is going, they're just going boom, 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 up and up and up and more and more and more. So I look at what's happening there and I say, bravo, man, because that's the kind of urgency you need. On every corner and every place you need testing, and you need vaccinations, and you need community leadership. I mean, we could go island by island, right? Oahu, my God, it's exploding there. We need to do the same thing. They need to take Dr. Behrman's playbook and put it to play over on Oahu. And then Big Island, who knows? Big Island is out of control, and it's just needs drastic help right now because of how out of control it is all over the place, and they're really not doing anything to address it at all. And Maui's kind of in between. I know Dr. Pang over there, Department of Health, great guy, really smart. And he's trying. So I really think right now, if we look across our state, we've got this massive deficit on Oahu and a massive deficit on the Big Island, right? And it's got to be a combination of county leadership, and it has to step in and work, with our DOH partners and make it happen. Big Island, same thing. So did I warble and talk too much there for you guys?
No.
Never. I want to address one question that came in. It was about a resident came back from the mainland, couldn't get their test, so they were on quarantine, and they wanted to test after they came home. And the Department of Health will grant you an exemption to go get tested. Here on Kauai, I can only speak for Kauai, so you got to call the Department of Health, and they will give you an exemption to get in there to get tested. So that's kind of where it's at. Doc, one question that came up: why do some people get seriously ill? And we're talking vaccinated people or even unvaccinated. Some get seriously ill, some very minor symptoms. And give us the lay person version.
The lay person version. Okay, first of all, is the God only knows. But no, here is the answer. In general, there still is a lot to be determined from the Delta variant and why certain individuals who are vaccinated will break through. We really don't know the answer to that. There is no answer to why certain people will get more seriously ill. Now, we do know broadly that the overall progression into ventilation, hospitalization, and things is quite low when you're vaccinated, but it is happening. We are getting people that it is happening. Now, let me, I don't want to get too technical, but this is something I've said on my CNN time, and I got called by Sanjay Gupta's leadership, and they're like trying to pull me over to prime time to talk about this, because I came out and I think I said this to you guys. You guys started this with me, and I said, all right, big issue we have right now is booster or no booster, right? Well, we have 5 major countries that are saying, we're not waiting. Yeah, of course. People are going to need boosters because immunity is waning. We have Pfizer's own studies that came out and show that after 6 months, you're down to 84%. And we have data coming out of Israel that show that when you're older and you're over 75, your immunity is waning even further, right? And so the whole question really becomes, how do you know right now, Mel or Charlie or me, how much of my vaccine is still working? I don't know. I haven't had any tests to do it. I mean, so I don't know. And so that's my point, is we have to either move to putting ourselves as a country into a regular booster schedule, which we know is going to come, or we have to start relying possibly on the spike RBD antibody testing, and to see if we're holding on to our antibodies. I don't get it real technical, but that pure antibody, which is testing whether that spike antibody is there or not, does not test your T cell, which is your SEAL team that is living in your body for a long time, or the B cell, which is your best I can say, it's your reserves, it's your Army reserves, and that we're going to have blood tests that will check what your reserves are of those two. But right now we can test for $40 with clinical labs or diagnostic labs. They both can do it, whether you are showing antibodies that are present for specifically what the vaccine was supposed to do. And I think either we're going to have to get boosters, or they're going to let us have to go and get antibody tests done to see if you have it. And if you don't have it, then you should go get a booster. I have colleagues across the country right now that are already sending their people with medications like for rheumatoid arthritis or for other conditions, or people who have had any cancers or any treatment. They're just sending them for a third shot automatically. They're not even asking. And, you know, the CDC and everybody's like, oh no, don't do that. We don't know yet. Well, you know what? It's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to hurt you. But you know what? It could save you from being one of those statistics, Charlie and Mel. Does that make sense? It's a little long-winded version of what we're talking about, which is...
You did a good thing.
Yeah.
Mel, he talk about antibodies, and we talk about uncle bodies. So
Yeah, I mean, we gotta don't forget the uncles. Don't
yeah,
forget the
forget the
uncles.
uncle bodies.
Hey, Doc, I know this hour is gonna go by really quick. I did want to put this up, Doc, and just show you and the viewers the numbers on Kauai for the last 14 days, because I know I often hear some of the state leaders say, "Oh, Kauai is doing very well. The numbers are low," but our population is 72,000 or whatever it is, 75,000, not counting the visitors on the island on every given day. Oahu, what do you got? You got close to 1 million people, if not more. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, million.
Okay, so more than 10 times the population. Honolulu has more than 10 times the people that Kauai does. So just doing regular math, Kauai High School math, if you multiplied our numbers by 10 to be conservative, we would be having 100 cases, 110, 130 cases a day. All of a sudden, we're not doing that very well as it relates to the spread of this virus. But oftentimes because you only look at the case counts and you're not putting, it's all relative, right, to your population. But I wanted to put up this chart because this is the last 14 days. And again, like you said, our county, I'm so blessed to be here with our mayor and with Derek Kawakami and Janet Berriman and all of their team. We get real-time data every single day. Unlike the state who comes out 2 days, sometimes they get glitches, whatever. It's hard to keep up. I don't even pay attention to those. But this one, we know this is real time. And if you look at the numbers, we see residents 85% versus 15% of the visitors. What's troubling is the children, 22%, which is remember, we've been hearing 25% of the cases are kids on the mainland. Well, we know it's happening here on Kauai. And travel, 54% of our cases in the last 14 days, travel related. Now, it's travel, it's not tourists, it's not visitors, it's travel related. But again, Doc, I keep repeating my point that visitors don't get tested unless they get sick. There's no mandatory testing, whether they're vaccinated, not vaccinated, whatever. There's no post-testing, get out of quarantine anymore. It's just, if they get sick enough that they feel they want to go to the doctor, they may get tested. So I don't really pay much attention to the low numbers of the percentage of visitors. If we had mandatory testing, post-arrival testing after 3 days or 4 days, I would suspect, and this is the question, I would suspect a much higher number of positives coming from our visitors. Is that a fair assessment?
Right now, I think with Delta, everybody is contributing to this right now. I can tell you both, and I think you both are seeing it right now. We just have massive community penetration. It is just every corner, every turn, every place, and it's coming from visitors, and it's coming from, one of my big beefs, and you know what? I've been one of these, is essential workers, where you get to have this different, guideline for how you come in, and you don't have it coming in, and it was like 22%. At this stage, it's everywhere, guys. It's everywhere. It's from our visitors, and you are absolutely correct. Our visitors are going to be probably converting over, and they're going to be afraid to get tested because they don't want to get stuck here. Our residents are positive. I mean, there's positive probably in the military. Our kids are positive and asymptomatic. It's every corner of everyone right now. It's all about where we are. And so I've lived with this mantra, and when I'm going in the road and dealing with these people, and we start doing our hot washes, which we talk about what happened yesterday, and then you go through it. But I always start and say, okay, tomorrow's another day. We're going to wake up tomorrow, and we're going to come up with a plan based off of what we learned, and we're going to move forward, right? And that's where we are right now. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's everything you have to do. And right now, the cracks are getting bigger and broader in our dike, and the water's spouting out. And we need to focus on every one of them, right? Every one of them. And that's what you guys are saying. And that's what you guys are trained and spent your life doing, right? That's what you do, with how you've trained to deal with how do you look at the problem ahead of you? How do you find the perp, right? So.
Hey, real quick, let me address Mark. Mark is saying, don't be trying to pick on the visitors. As I stated in the beginning of the show, this is not against the visitors. It's travelers. All of my postings relate to travelers, but it's unfair when we only count the residents, and we're not making an effort to count the visitors. That's all I'm saying. I think the visitors are going to come, whether we test them or not. But if you want to get an accurate number of the spread of this virus throughout this state, then we have to test everybody the same. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that's very unique in our line of work, and that is when we become reactive, something has happened and it's probably going to get bad, but hopefully we can cure it. Whether our suspect already has done the damage and we're going to look for him. But we always try to, take useful dollars and try to implement some type of a proactive program. And I still have to say, Doc, that I think we knew it was coming and we could have been proactive. It's just that we always felt that we were lucky. We were lucky from some ends because when this virus was happening across the globe in other parts, it was far from us. So a lot of people took a sigh of relief because, especially on Kauai, we had our numbers low all the time. But like right now, just seeing what we've seen, it's highly unusual, put it that way. Even though it's low, it's nowhere near what Honolulu has or the Big Island has. So I think it's a little unusual because the numbers are there, but we still have to exercise caution, right? We have to do that.
Well, guys, you want to fix it in 5 minutes? I can tell the state how to fix it. 5 minutes. That's all it's going to take. Put me on a clock. Number one, this is spread indoors, right? So we're going to have to go and we're going to have to start being very considerate of the number of people who are going to be allowed in an indoor setting. And I don't want to pound our bars and restaurants. They've been beaten up. They've shut down. They're shuttered, our favorite ones. But that is a huge issue right now where we're seeing, and I'm speaking to you from areas that I've just traveled to that are far ahead of where we are. And that's where it's coming from. That's what Delta is right now. How do we give our bars and restaurants a breather? Be creative. Let these poor people go open up in the streets and put fans in outdoor settings out there. I'm going across the country and I'm seeing halves of streets blocked off. And what used to be indoor restaurants, they're just letting them set up and they're bringing their tables outside and they're letting them be out in the streets. Let's really just shake the tree and let these people have an option where they can survive, still keep people, but don't put people indoors. And my God, like right now, tonight at 10 o'clock, there shouldn't be bunches of people hanging out, having their beer at the bar. I mean, that's just an accident waiting to happen, but let's put them outside. Let's do things to do it creatively. So
hey, Doc, real quick, I just want to interject, I apologize, but we had said earlier that, and you may be aware of this, that the Honolulu mayor announced to the Honolulu City Council that the governor is going to be making an announcement that's going to restrict gatherings, 25 outdoors, 10 indoors.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. No, that just came out. That's hot off the press.
Oh, okay. So good. So, hey, thanks for listening, Governor. No, just so thanks. See, they're watching. Thanks. So
I know they watch. Yeah. Believe me.
Excellent. Okay, so good. That is something that I would agree with, and I would agree with it, especially on Oahu and the Big Island, where you have surges going on right now, even if we have to be specific, where you look at the positivity. And if you look at bigger states and areas, they do that. And they say, well, the positivity here is below 5%. You guys are okay, but over here in this city, it's higher. You need to reduce it. So that's really good news to hear. The second thing is we just have to have mass testing. You guys saw what happened today, last 24 hours, Wuhan. What's going on in Wuhan, right? We're the epicenter. What did they announce? Did you see what Wuhan said they're going to do?
Test.
Every citizen in Wuhan, was it 9 million or 11 million people? They're going to test them all at the same time, as close as they can at the same time. But what do? Then in one snapshot, you go, you, and you all have COVID. Go lock yourself in your room and don't come out for a little bit and put the little food box and water box outside, because then they're not going to spread it. Because what is the Delta variant right now? It is more, is it contagious as chickenpox? It's going to have a 5 to 9 people are going to get it from one person versus the olden days when you had 1 to 2. And so if you can stop that spread, then you're going to get it. So you need to do aggressive, massive testing of anybody. And you don't just do this one. I've gone on my next time on CNN, I'm going to be saying it again, and I'm going to say it again. CDC, you need to listen and change. Hey, CDC. No, and that is, we need to get away from this 15 minutes and 6 foot as a close contact. It should be, in my mind, it should be 2 minutes and 6 feet or less, but we'll compromise at 5 minutes. But the concept that 15 minutes and 6 feet, my God, in 15 minutes and 6 feet, you could spread it to 100 people if you're cruising around. So we need to redefine what close contact is, so that when you are exposed, you need to be doing the 1st-degree contacts and the 2nd-degree contacts, because it is so contagious. So people listening, if you heard you were near someone, don't be complacent and say, well, I wasn't around them that long. If you didn't have a mask and you were sitting and, for 30 seconds, go get tested. Just be safe with how contagious it is. So we need to get back to, and then we need to have everybody and all the tutus and all the aunties and uncles all volunteer to become contact tracers, because we need to let everybody on the planet know that they were exposed so that they could get tested. And if we start doing this again and again and again, testing, contact tracing, and isolation, that's how you stop the disease. There's nothing different now than there was before on how you stop this disease. So I mean, it sounds simple, but you know what? Go look at the places that have just had the surges and how they turn it around. Their people went indoors, they stopped it, they reduced it, and that's how we need to work it right now.
So why aren't we doing the same thing? That's what I don't understand. We went through this drill with the first COVID. We went through the exercises. We really know what works and doesn't work. Kauai was kind of the model, and it was, and we had the curfew, and we did have the stay at home when the state went stay at home. But the only thing we did differently was we opted out of safe travels. That's the only thing we did different. We didn't lock everybody down. Everything was open. We went to a tier system, much like Honolulu did. But we know what works and we know what doesn't work. But for some reason, we're not doing what we did when we know it worked, and yet it's a worse virus, much more contagious virus. And we're still trying to reinvent the wheel, like how we're going to do it when we already know. And that's what bothers me. We know it works, and I think that the mayor's position on Oahu right now, or the governor, when he makes this announcement, that's a first step. I think that's gonna do some.
So the next thing, I'm sorry, I promised you 5 minutes so I'm gonna have to take 10 to cure COVID in the state. Just joking, but gotta try to smile. The next thing is something I've also brought up in some of my national time and some of my national travels, is we need to we need to have a bigger emphasis on masks right now. One of the things I've said before our DOE restarted was, I thought it would have been a wonderful thing if the state took some of the federal money that we have to keep our kids safe at school, and they got the very now inexpensive 3-ply surgical blue masks, and they distributed those and taught every child, the teacher with a webinar before they started, how to put it on. Everybody went on, and everybody consistently through the entire school, teacher, students, all had the same blue 3-ply surgical mask, and they all learned how to put it on and keep it on and keep it on effectively. Because with the contagious nature of the Delta variant, a little bit of corner of your mask being open and you being 3 feet from the next student beside you, it's going to spread, right? So the proper mask and the proper wearing of a mask with Delta and the next variant and the next variant after that is going to be one of the most essential things we're going to do. And I don't think you're hearing anybody in leadership saying what I'm saying to you. And this needs to be in every corner and every area across the board, because we all know, I mean, there's some really cool masks and they're stylish and something, but guess what? There's plenty of studies that show some are here in protection and some are here. And with Delta, they all need to be here. So.
The other morning on the news, the newscaster, reporter went to the school and was talking to one of the kids. I think it was 5th grade or whatever, a young little boy, and he had the blue mask, the surgical mask, but it was very obvious that that mask, the way the camera angled, because he was short, you could see inside it's not fitted.
Right.
It is an adult mask on a little boy's face, which was just, I think, a formality. And is it really protecting that child? That's the first thing I noticed was, wow, the mask was floating on his face. Of course, those masks are made for adults. And even if you pinch the nose, they're not getting a good fit on these masks for little kids.
Exactly. And we should have masks, if we're going to have them down at that age, we should have masks available that fit each size and each age group. And it would take 3 minutes to 5 minutes and it'd be fun at the beginning of the class. Hi, let's all wear our masks. And you just give the kids a new mask every week or a couple times a week, depending on what they want to do. But that will be a big difference. That could be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spreads that we could stop with that. And I'm not only talking about schools. This could be all over. You know, as I'm traveling and I'm wearing N95s everywhere I go, and mine are, perfectly fit. And I just kind of look around and my brain is just counting the number of people who are going to get infection because of how poorly their masks are fitting. So just it may seem like a small point, but this is a huge point with Delta. This is huge. So.
Hey, Doc, I wanted to ask you something about the schools. Before you came on, Mel and I were talking about this, and I know in the beginning, nearly a year ago, when we talked about schools then, it was, what do we do? So, it's doing the spacing and all of that, right? And at the time, Delta wasn't on the scene yet. Now we got something that's highly contagious, 1,000 times more contagious. I still haven't seen anything that went out of the ordinary to add that extra level of protection in the schools. How is the schools thinking they're gonna stop this thing if it gets in the schools?
I was all over the school protection program that was written and released. What was it, about a week ago?
A week ago.
Yeah, a week ago. On its surface, it's really, really well done. Okay, the details in there, everything about it, it's very well done. My issue with it was a week ago, and our kids are in school now, and basically the boots on the ground are the ones that had to essentially be the ones to implement it. And that needed some time to be really broadly thought and individualized for whether it's the individual school, even an individual classroom. The teachers had to be taught. There's so many things associated with it. And, that's neither here nor there. So the program on its surface was, compared to even the ones I'm dealing with across the country, was really well done. And I commend them for that. Now it's all about implementation. right? You can have the best thing on paper, but it comes down to implementation. And then the one step, probably Charlie, to answer your question, which I know they're working on, is that it has built in asterisks, and there's 2 pages, and that's testing, right? They have decided to put testing into it, but now they have to get it implemented. And this is the world that I live in because, I've designed testing programs, and I'll take, for example, the SEC. And then in the SEC, I did, major testing throughout 14 colleges and universities for an entire year. And we had, incredible success with it. And you have to have the right cadence of testing for the students based on the prevalence and incidence and positivity of your campus or your city. Look where we came back to. It comes down to testing, because then what you're doing is you do the rapid testing where you get results in 15 minutes on the spot, and you do it repeatedly. And then you can basically isolate, quarantine, test the circle around, and that's how you start it. That's how you get your curve down. So that's how we successfully kept universities and college sports programs open across the country during very significant surges. And it was through very aggressive contact tracing, testing, isolation, quarantine, and repeat. And then when we had symptomatic, boom, we put strike teams out there and we tested the people when they were symptomatic and everyone around them. And I don't care if you were the head coach of Alabama, hint, or the star quarterback. If you were positive or if you were around, you had a 14-day quarantine, right? And that's what we have to do. And simple, but it's a hell of a lot of work. And I still do have a copy of the letter that I did send to the head coach of Alabama telling me he had to sit out. So.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
a powerful man. Boy, we learned the first go around the importance of contact tracing. I mean, you were a key in that, and so was the lieutenant governor, really pushing for the contact tracing because it was critical that we had to isolate the virus, right? And that's how you do it. You do it with the contact tracing, and then you make sure that anyone that might have been around gets tested, and then you isolate them so they cannot spread it to anyone else. And with the reduction in testing, and I think the reduction, and again, for the reasons you explained, that it's, trying to, how you going to get these guys back into the Department of Health to ramp up the contact tracing. It's going to be very hard to win this battle because this virus moves so quickly. It's moving more than 3 times as fast as the original COVID, the original strain. So I'm not sure how we, if we cannot identify and isolate, then the spread will just continue. And I think that was the concerns about sending our kids back. I know that you had spoken about pretty harshly about postponing the beginning of school, at least a couple of weeks. And I heard you, I saw your postings, but the state decided to move forward anyway. How comfortable or how confident are you that the protocols in place? I expect to see cases in the schools. I mean, I think you'd be a fool not to, but do you think we have the protocols in place that we can actually isolate and allow schools to continue?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, you guys know, and I came out and I did say that because I basically believed that at that point, remember, we didn't have the plan released, right? There was no plan. And so at that point, knowing that if a plan was released, it was going to need at least a 2 or 3 week period to be taught and trained and implemented. And I'm bringing this from talking to teachers and talking to administrators. And I was even talking to superintendent, district principals and people off the record and quietly. And they were all like waiting because they didn't have any true guidance. And knowing what I know from the front lines, it takes time to, you guys know this, it takes time to disseminate that information. And then at the same time, I feel bad for the leadership at DOE because, heck, we had uh, Dr. Kishimoto. She was like in her last couple of days, and she was already had her plane ticket booked probably. And we had our new superintendent, and he wasn't even in place yet to make a decision. So we had the worst perfect storm that we could ever ask for of having. But that's why I said maybe that's the right time to let's just take a pause, because you have all this happening right now at the same time. So it goes back, guys. I still believe what I said at that time was exactly the right thing to do. And I have no question about it. But you know what? We're here where we are today. And you know what? Tomorrow morning, there's going to be kids going to school. And that's what we have to do. We have to say, where are we right now? What are we going to do right now to keep our children safe? And the way you keep our children safe is, number one, get the right masks on. Parents, help your child learn how to put the right mask on. That's the best thing a parent can do. Because once the child goes to school, what's a parent going to do, right? Can't hide where there's, but you can really make sure they don't have just a stylish little, cloth mask. Find a blue surgical mask somewhere. If you don't, ask one for the school. And then the second thing is look for symptoms, find out about your friends, find out about what's going on. If there's even an inkling that your child has any issues, please don't send them to school. Get them tested. There has to be a consistent message to all the parents and all the children and all the families that don't just assume it's a runny nose or allergies or something, because you're just not going to know. Take that extra precaution. And what does that mean? We need to have accessible testing for every student and every family so they can just go out and grab it and get it done. So those are the two things that the families can do right there if you're worried about your child going. And then on the other hand, the DOE and everybody needs to start making sure that all the schools are educated on what to do. They all have their own contact tracing, because here's one of the things that's happening. They're supposed to do the in-school contact tracing in the school itself. They're supposed to have people trained in each school to do their contact tracing. That's not easy, that is not easy, right? And so that needs to be emphasized, to be, how do you do that, right? So
I'm chuckling because, Charlie, you remember back in the beginning when we suggested that they use retired police officers to do contact tracing. Charlie and I actually volunteered, and no, you got to have a medical background. You got to have a medical background. If you don't have a medical background, we cannot train you to be a contact tracer.
I was on the show when I was on with you guys when you said that, and we were talking about that, and I was like, contact tracing, you guys and all you guys would be the best contact tracers, because that's all it is. It's just it's just I was on that show. I'll always remember that. I still remember that, and I was thinking to myself, hell yeah, yes, of course.
There were many of our viewers that wanted to. They wanted to. I mean, a lot of people weren't working. They wanted to do it, and of course we're told no. You got to have a medical back. But now we can train Department of Education employees to do it. You don't need a medical background anymore. That's the look at Charlie. Even Charlie's smiling. But and I'm happy they're doing that, because you can train someone to be a contact tracer. You really can.
Well, there's the Johns Hopkins course, which is free, which has become the gold standard. And if you really put your time to it, you can get a Hopkins certification in contact tracing in about 4.5 hours. It's supposedly an 8-hour course, but it's not that hard. It's you guys could do it in probably 2. So, but again, hopefully that's, a message to everybody about what you can and can't do. And then what needs to happen is the next thing is, hopefully the schools have cohorted, they call it the Ohana bubble, but the cohorts are very important. In a perfect setting, it would be nice if you would take, this is old school, when you had the one-room schoolhouses, you could take all the kids into a classroom and you could put them in their desks, right? And put them in orders, right? And then what I would do is I would then have the teacher come into a room and not send the students out. And then what you do is if anybody's positive, you could do 1/4, and that's the bubble right there, right? Now, you want to know another thing I recommended? And I recommended this back when I was called by the NHL. And this was a tricky one, and we probably couldn't get away with this in schools, but I said to them as they were getting games canceled, and I said, listen, take your positive player and then another positive player who's quarantined and put your star player in between them, because now he has barriers on either side that have immunity and they can't spread it to your star or your goalie. And I said, change your lockers. So if you can go positive, non-COVID positive, and you split them, and it worked. So, but anyways, those would be the tricks that you could use, that if you did have children that were prior positives, then, you don't put them all in the corner and put a scarlet letter on them, but those children are safer, right? Split them up, separate them up. So.
Are we doing surveillance testing in the schools? Are we actually doing aggressive surveillance testing so we can identify potential positive students before they get sick?
I don't believe so yet.
Okay. Commitment school is.
Yeah, Kamehameha is.
Private schools,
Yeah,
private schools. You remember, now, private schools stayed open through COVID. It can be done. It has to be done safely.
Yeah, it can be done. And I've said this too before is, geez, in our schools with our beautiful weather, put the kids out under a tree. Let the teacher teach them outside, as much as you can. As much as you can. Just like I said, put the restaurants outside, put anything you can to get in an outdoor environment. Very important. And if I'm a teacher and I'm worried about what's going on, I know I'm 35-year son of a teacher. My mother taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I know good teachers all went and spent their own money on things. I would be going to Target and or Costco, and I would be buying all my own fans, and I would be popping those fans all over the room and having my own circulation and air moving all over the place. For $30 or $40, I'd be putting fans everywhere. But that's the other thing that should be happening, is move the air around on the internally. So, yeah.
I did want to touch on again the contact tracing. What you said, and that is, I guess, what makes former law enforcement good contact tracers, because we are well schooled when we talk to someone who is a possible suspect that might attack back, because we have to learn the defensive mechanism on what the person is ready to do just based on their responses. And sometimes with contact tracing, right? If you don't ask the right questions, guess what? You won't get the right answers.
That's right. That's right.
And you're looking for that answer that will either make or break a case. It will either say, yes, you're going to lead me into the direction where I can find many more little coins in that pot of gold. And that's what you're looking for, right? To control the spread.
That's right. That's right. And
I know Charlie will attest to this, but the art of interrogating or interviewing someone is to get him to feel comfortable and trusting you to be able to tell you the truth and not feel bad about it. That's the art. That's the art of interrogating. You can go in there and be a bad cop. That's why a lot of times you see the good cop, bad cop, right? You send the bad cop in first. He rips you apart. And then the good cop comes in and say, hey, Charlie, get out of here. Leave it. What are you doing? Get out of here. And then I sit down. I said,
why I always got to be the bad cop? I want to be the good cop.
Don't mind him. He's having a rough day. His dog just died. But listen, pal, you can trust me. But anyways, it's things like that all the retired cops, if you had brought them all back and did the contact tracing, it would have worked. Dan Kochi, the world famous Dan Kochi, just posted, any reaction to some of the comments that were made on today's Star Advertiser Spotlight interview? I actually did not watch today's Spotlight interview. Not sure who was even on it. I usually get alerted. It was a busy day. So I'm not sure if any of you saw today's Spotlight interview. Not sure. I don't even know who was on it. So, okay, I take that as a no.
Is that wait?
Um,
Is that a relative to Senator Kochi?
that is the boy. That's the son.
Oh, tell tell
Yeah, that's Dan Kochi, Dan the man.
tell Dan tell
I heard he's running for governor.
uh, tell Dan we like his
He's
dad. We
he's
like.
watching you. He's watching. You can tell him yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
he's on watching.
yeah. Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So I'm
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that because I didn't know he was on, but
yeah. He's
yeah.
actually on.
Well,
I think it's the
actually, since he's on, okay, what we should ask is, um, maybe it's time we go and we really realistically ask our Department of Health, how can we help you? What can we do? What do you need to get more assets and resources? Because this is, it's overwhelming them right now. I can tell you, I know it's overwhelming them right now when you look at the same number of bodies with, we were down here and now it's up here. And those people are trying to do the best they can. But the bottom line is we probably need to have some emergency support. We need to maybe pull some people in to support some of the things they need to do. And especially in what we're talking about with the contact tracing and other things that are, administratively important, because they're our key right now, right? Who is the key to help pulling it out? Where do we start? We started this conversation. What do we do? Well, what we need to do, it's all hands on deck, and it starts with the Department of Health leadership, and Libby and Sarah Kimball and Libby are doing as good a job as they can do, with what they've been, with the hand they were dealt. They were brought in the middle of this. And I mean, what a tremendous upgrade from our prior world that we were in. And I just think that we need to probably get the enough boots on the ground to support. This is true. This is like the firefighters over on the Big Island. The tsunami is hitting us with Delta right now. And you saw the projections that have just come out, that our own internal people came. And we know we're down here right now, but we're projecting we're going to be up at 600, 700, 800. I mean, we already know that's where we're headed. And how are we as a state going to take care of this? Well, kudos to the governor if he's going to be pushing that down. That's a first move. And let's put all the resources on the ground to do the things we need with contract testing, quarantining. Let's talk about how we can keep our economy open, but find a way to know if our visitors are positive or not, right? We got to do that.
Dan said he's not running for governor. And today's show, the Star Advertiser, was council members Tupola and Tolba, and he said he will pass your message on to his dad.
Great.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
What I did want to say was I saw a little excerpt from Dr. Char, what she said on the news, and that is because there was a question about opening schools, right? And her response was, and please, somebody out there, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. But from what I heard, she says, whether you do it now or whether you do it 6 weeks from now of opening the schools, infections will occur. I mean, that's just how it is. So what she was trying to say, the way I took it was, even if we prolonged it, it will happen then. Now, I think what many of us who are lay people, we have to learn and listen to what she's saying. What I took from that was kind of frightening, and that is, no matter how you look at it, there's going to be infections. And I think maybe what could have softened it a little was that, but we are prepared to do whatever it takes to go in rapidly to try to keep it down. But see, that wasn't said. But I'm not faulting her for it. I'm just saying she's just straightforward. I've known her from my days when I was over at the medical examiner's office, and she was at the emergency services division of the city and county at that time. And it was very eye-opening what I heard. But I think if we all can just listen to what she said, she's basically telling us, get ready and buckle up because we got to take this thing head on. And I hope and pray that people do take the safety measures. We talked about that before, and we always talk about it. Use your mask. You know, I can say with certainty, just looking at the numbers of people that's coming through the airport, I can say that I'm very happy to see that they're all wearing their masks. There's a few that come in and feel like I'm entitled. Hawaii's part of the United States. Well, guess what, knucklehead? As you're waiting for your bag, it's being announced that, you know, the state of Hawaii has mandated mask usage in state facilities. So then our security personnel walks up and says, excuse me, you need to put on your mask. Then they'll comply. So for the most part, I'm happy everybody using their mask. But yet I'm still left in that position like we talked about it before, Doc, and that is, I'm sure there's many more other things we can do, like avoiding large crowds, right? We have to be responsible upon ourselves that, you know, if there's a possibility, if I do have some illnesses that I carry, I got to stay away and I try and minimize it as much as possible, correct?
Correct. Well, you know, guys, one of the things I want to throw out is that they're trying to balance the Dr. Chars and the governor and the lieutenant governor and even our senator, Kochi and things, the broad public health benefit versus the individual risk. And there's a lot of this discussion that is going to be, well, how much longer can we keep people out of work? How many people, I've gone through and heard these machinations back and forth. How many people are depressed and have died from other causes? And you know, that you guys have heard this whole thing. You know, there's a broad public health benefit by us now maintaining and keeping our state open. And if it's shut down again, that what it would do to the lives of the people could be far more detrimental to certain percentages of people becoming positive. Now, I'm not saying I support that. I'm saying those are the arguments that we're hearing on the other side. And I can tell, and you guys are smart enough, as I'm watching some of these people talk and listen, that they're having, like, on their shoulders, one voice goes here and the one voice goes here and the one voice goes here. Or like a person like Dr. Char, who's a doctor, is probably, you know, having to bite her tongue to just
tell it like it is.
Tell it like, you know, where she probably wants to go, blah, but, you know, but then again, she's trying to be putting over the broader public health. I mean, the person who really has been straight up and said it is Mayor Blangiardi. Like he's pretty blunt. He's like, no, not going back in my tears. We got to keep everything open, and almost like you should have got vaccinated, and the broader public good is what we're here for. And I mean, he's obviously been a blunt guy for, you know, all the TV time, and he's done like that. That is, I'm a physician. Every single life is worth a life to me. Every person deserves a chance. And yeah, they should have gotten vaccinated, but should have, could have, those are yesterday. We're moving forward. And what we're moving forward with right now is effective today. 5 to 6 people are going to die, right? Mm-hmm. And 2 days ago, 8 people are committed to die in our state. And one person's one too many. We have to find a way to stop that or to reduce that. And that, you know, that's where I look at what's happening right now, knowing that high 300s, 400s is already projecting that people will die. It's already projecting that the crises we're having, by the way, we didn't talk about that. There are big problems in our hospitals right now, you know, because I got all the pulses out there as a guy in the medical field, and, you know, there are problems already. You know, I just got called. Here's a live story 2 hours before. Good friend of mine, neighbor, calls and said, my buddy's over at Waikoloa. ends up, he's being life flighted out of the Big Island. He has a kidney stone that's blocking his kidney. He's infectious, and they don't have any care that they can provide him over there. And the helicopter's dropping him at Castle. I'm like, Castle? Oh, I thought, why Queens? Oh, it's on divert. And so is Straub. They're all on divert tonight. So, and he couldn't be cared for in the Big Island because there's no nurses to be opening up the beds in Kona Hospital right now. Guys, that's tonight. That's tonight. That's within 2 hours ago. So does it show up in the statistics of like, oh, you know, we have this many COVID beds filled or this many ICU beds? No, there's a crisis right now. It's happening right now. And with what we know right now, the number of people that will be in our beds of our hospital and ICU beds based on our positivity rate today, because it's a projection going forward, is going to be up, another 50%, right? And we already know that our positivity, based on all the data, our own statisticians and the amazing guests that you've had on, which are brilliant and have nothing but, the interest in telling the truth, the number's just going to be going like this. So we're sitting here already with enough forewarning that we're going to have our hospitals they're already having problems, but they're going to be in real problems. So we got to do something. We got to do something now, or else we're going to have a bigger issue right now. So, and I know you guys know that, but I'm sorry.
Well, we know it. And tomorrow night, for your information, we have Daniel Ross back on the show, Hanaho, because Facebook was kind enough to delete the last video because some crybaby made a complaint. So tomorrow night, and as you know, Doc, I don't know if you know this, but now we stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time. So if they want to block us out of Facebook, you can watch us on Twitter. But so he'll be back tomorrow night with I'm sure with more information. We keep hearing from the state. I'm not going to mention names. We keep hearing from state leadership that hotel situation is fine. We hear from the hospital people themselves that it's not. We just heard from you of the situation 2 hours ago. We know this is happening. I personally know of people that have had their just today found out a case that their elective surgery was canceled until further notice. It is a crisis, and as you said, we won't. I forget. It was Dr. Chiba, right, from UH, that said, mathematics doesn't have a political agenda. You plug the numbers in, you plug the trends, you plug the percentages, you get your information. What you said about the deaths, people say, yeah, but so many more people recover or they don't get seriously ill. Common sense tells you, increase the numbers of cases, you're going to increase the numbers of hospitalizations, and you're going to increase the numbers of death. You cannot stop that. So it is what it is.
That's the thing, is the data we have now, there is so much predictability in our data to know what this means. And that's what's really concerning. And that's when I shiver when I see the numbers every single day. And let me throw out, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, I'm just trying to be honest. And we now know, the study that just came out of Ontario, that 50% higher fatality rate with Delta. That came out of Ontario, Canada. Very well done study. We know there's now 4 times the number of individuals that are contracting Delta, especially in that 20 to 50-year-old age group, which is the big surge, are being put into intensive care. So those are really powerful statistics to show of what Delta is doing relative to the original Alpha variety of this. And so you take those 2 statistics and you take the number of positivities that we have right now, we are already projecting what's going to happen with our hospitals. And how do I say this nicely? What are the risk factors? Hypertension, diabetes, obesity, right? Those are our advanced risk factors. And if you have lung problems, it's certainly going to be an issue. Well, guess what? we're kind of a hotbed for those diseases. As a doctor, we got a lot of those cruising around. And if I can say something to listeners and your family, if you got those three, which is kind of one of the triumvirates that we see all the time, and you're out there cruising around and you're not vaccinated, you're playing Russian roulette, man. Even if you're in your 30s or 40s or whatever, you are at significant risk that you could be one of those people in the hospital or worse. So, don't take it for granted because of your age. Be careful.
Well, Doc, we went way over. It's hard to keep a show to an hour with you, but I do want to respect your time, being that you are 3 hours ahead. I had a couple of rapid fire questions,
Sure.
but the one that I think keeps getting asked, and I don't want to answer, and I think my answer to everyone that asks me this offline is consult your primary care physician if you have any questions about taking the vaccine or not. But in general, if you have had COVID and you have survived, should you get the vaccine?
Yes. Yes, data is very clear. You're going to get extra levels of immunity, and so the answer is yes. It's a broad question. So if you look at the data we have now, yes, yes, and yes. But it goes back to what we talked about early in the show: is we've got to get to the point to know where is our immunity, where's all of our immunity? Because right now we do know that when you've had COVID, you will also have declining immunity, just like if you had the vaccination. So that's one of the reasons why you're going to get the shot. If someone had COVID a year ago, I have no idea how much is left in your body right now. It's pretty good, we've seen, but you could be just dwindling and not have much. You get a vaccine, you're going to then have that new level of antibodies specific to the spike. So the answer is yes, but that is a question the whole world needs answered: is what is your level of immunity, whether you've had the shot or whether you've had the disease or both. But yes.
Doc, we witnessed, and I think you were on one of the shows that we witnessed. Actually, our viewers changed their mind about taking the vaccine because of something that you or Mayor Kim or whoever it may be. We've seen that happen. I won't say frequently, but we have seen it. We'll give you an opportunity now to share your closing thoughts with our viewers about the importance of the vaccine, or whatever you want. But just the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, okay, reality check for the people of Hawaii. This isn't the last variant you're going to see. Delta is here now, is going to be followed by another, and likely followed by another. And I'm not saying that to make everybody say doom and gloom or anything like that. It's just, don't be complacent. The best thing you can do right now is get a vaccine, and all of the statistics across our country and areas where we're using the vaccines we're using is your chances of dying are higher, probably getting hit by a car or bitten by a shark, than they are dying of COVID. And that's you can't refute that right now. Then the other thing I'm going to say to everybody out there is that get ready for your next booster. Just get ready. Like, hey, man, we get flu shots. You're going to get a COVID shot, and you're going to get a flu shot, and you're going to get another COVID shot. And I will take a little pinch in my arm and a little soreness the next day to have that extra confidence to know that, I'm not going to have a tube down my throat, and my family's not going to be, planning a service for me. And so the vaccines are safe. These are the most safe things that you have ever seen in modern healthcare, and that have come up. Everybody's afraid it's not FDA approved. But if you understand this technology, I use this analogy and someone goes, oh, wow, I get that. We've all seen the TV analogy of the olden days where bombs drop on buildings or on cities. And then they got a little smarter, and now we have the smart bombs. Well, this little smart bomb not only comes in and the perp is sitting there, and you wanted to, it actually can go and find the remote control sitting by the perp and change the channel. That's how accurate it is. It's so pinpoint. It's not this big, broad issue to your body. It's just targeting the spike. That's all it's hitting, is just whatever it takes in that spike to react to it. It's not hitting your reproductive organs or your brain or anything. It just is a little identifier to say, see that little spike which sticks on and sucks on to your body? Go get it. Go get it, boys. And that's it. So it's safe and it's very targeted and it's going to save your lives. And it's easy because we've all had them. So, and if I had my choice, Pfizer, Moderna, people ask me that all the time, I'd still stick with those right now. J&J, it's okay, not a problem. But I still kind of like the mRNA technology that comes with those right now. But all of them are excellent and will work to keep you alive.
Thank you, Doc. That's good to know because I took the J&J.
Yeah, it's fine. J&J is going to be fine. Yeah, but
I mask up. It's become a habit now. But,
yeah, I do. Yeah, but they're all fine. People ask me, and I say, Pfizer, then Moderna, then J&J. I'll take any of them. Take any of them. Any of them, anywhere. We're all going to need a booster somewhere, and people don't use the excuse. Well, if I have to get a booster, why do I get it? It's not going to work. No, that's like you get a booster. It's like it's like extra protection. It's just going to keep you safer longer. So,
Charles. Oh, by the way, Roxanne Freitas was the first of our viewers that went out and got vaccinated because of our show. Thank you, Roxanne. She's on, and I know there was one more. I don't remember the name. But I appreciate you guys, and thanks for doing that. Charles.
Well, thank you very much, Doc, for joining us tonight. We've come to this crossroad where we haven't convinced anyone yet to take the vaccine. We probably won't. That's just the facts of life. But I hope those people, and I pray for them, whatever happened, for some reason or another, some cannot take it. But you feel sorry to a certain degree. I cannot say I feel 100% sorry for those who decided to run the gamut and they got tagged by it. Because I've said it in every single show. If you get it close enough, you ain't going to outrun this thing. I mean, I've seen people get infected with this virus over and over again. So many different people. And I'm just left wondering, wow, the should have, could have. But like you said, that's come and gone. It's past. We who haven't gotten tagged and we who practice, safety, we have to do that for our kids because there's kids that under the age of 12, they cannot get vaccinated. We got to think about them. There are some elderly kupunas who couldn't get vaccinated, but may have some kind of immunocompromise in their system. We have to keep them isolated and keep them safe at all times. Everybody just got to be safe. When you come into the house, use caution. Not just come walking in the house, especially like for me, been around the airport all day. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It seems like thousands of people. And I'm right up next to them. And I just try to get back into my office as fast as I can. But the job calls for me to be out at certain times. You got to do it. But yet I know when I get home, everything comes off. Because why? I have a wife at home. That's my loved one. If anything happens, I would feel very, very guilty, for sure. So I hope you folks feel the same way too. If you can do anything to prevent the spread, let's do it. Because we've got a out of control train right now. And until such time we can redirect the train into the ocean, that it can go off the tracks right into the deep blue sea, it's going to create havoc wherever it goes. So folks, just use caution whenever you can. Okay, Mel?
I read comments and I'm listening to you, Charlie, and I think you get the feeling like I'm laughing at what you're saying, but absolutely not. Our good friend Tyson Moises, he says, I wonder, this is cool. I wonder if those who say I'm not getting the vaccine because I may have to get a booster and get another shot, use that same rationale when sitting on the throne. Wipe twice and still dirty, but say, not worth wiping if I got to do it more than once.
Uh,
You know, anyway, Doc, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate whenever you can come join us. We appreciate you so much. Tomorrow night, we have Daniel Ross, Hawaii Nurses Association. Friday, I had an invite out to Dr. Altenberg. I'm not sure. I got to follow up with him, but if not, we'll have Mayor Harry Kim on to have just a nice little casual discussion with one of the most interesting guys and Akamai guys.
Harry loves you guys, man. I just talked to him. I talked to him about an hour ago. He loves you guys. You guys are like this. So, I mean, he'll hang out and talk to you guys. And I mean, and you can listen to him all day long because, oh my God, it's just incredible what he brings to the table. So, yeah.
You know, he's one of those guys that he's like Steven Seagal. He'll redirect something and you don't even know he did it. And case in point, during the last show, he turned around and says, hey, it's on you guys now. It's you guys are obligated to take this message forward. Mm-hmm. What he did is he redirected and it was like, okay.
Wow.
And then to follow that up, he called me up about 6:15 in the morning and said, I'm sorry to bother you so early. I hope you were awake. I said, I'm an early riser. He says, forgive me for saying this, but I know it's not my place, but you and Charlie got to ramp it up now. in the last 48 hours, more specifically, the last 24 hours, the game has changed. And now it's up to you folks. I'm like, whoa, okay. Yes, sir. Yoda has spoken.
Yeah.
Yoda has spoken.
There's only one thing I can say about that. That was after he hung up with me. So he goes, we talk all the time.
But we will continue. Charlie and I have made a commitment. And again, if we have someone that has information that we feel is beneficial, we will definitely get them on and we will come on if it's 5 nights a week, if it's 7 nights a week. We expect a lot of changes going forward, not changes, I should say developments in the next couple of weeks. I think we'll have a lot to talk about. So we're trying to fill the funnel with some very interesting speakers and guests that can give us information that is helpful.
Yeah.
So with that, folks, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I apologize for going over. Golly, we're almost an hour and a half. But again, when you have an expert like Dr. Miscovich, we can sit here and listen to you all night long as well. So with that, folks, you guys take care, stay safe, God bless. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Daniel Ross, Hawaii Nurses Association. Fasten your stinking seatbelts. All right, guys.
Thanks. See you, everybody.